All right. Welcome, welcome. Streaming in a couple places here. I'm live on Zoom and I'm also live on LinkedIn. So just as we get started, as we get settled, I just wanted to make mention of the fact that I'm streaming across a couple different platforms tonight. But I am so excited that you are here. Thank you for joining. And so if you see me kind of looking from screen to screen to screen, it's because I am attempting to keep things organized, keep myself organized. But we are just past 7. And so I think we'll get started. All right. So here we are. And I'll say a formal welcome again. I'm excited that you are here. And, with all the things that you could be doing on a Wednesday evening, you chose to be here. So thank you. I'm honored. And I want to say welcome to the Stress Less Masterclass. I'm really, really glad you're here. And I don't take it lightly that you've committed to spend the next hour or so with me. And as we get started, I'm going to invite you to focus. It's really time to stop the multitasking and to reduce any distractions, things like shutting down your other browser windows, putting your phone on mute, silencing alerts, or just turn the phone off or turn it over. You could even close the door and hang up a do not disturb sign if you like, because you're here. And if you're here, it's because you want to learn how to stop the stress cycle in your life. So it's super important to block out all of those additional distractions, to be all in here, to give yourself the time. Because you know what? It's really rare these days that we give anything our undivided attention. But you're here for a reason. And I want to make sure that you are able to focus. And for your undivided attention, my promise to you today is that by the end of this training, I will have explained why all the popular stress management techniques, why they're impacting what I call your stress load. And we'll talk more about what that is, how you actually stop the stress cycle, and the foundations of stress-less living. Because honestly, I want to show you that you can feel more calm, clarity, ease, and joy every day, because there is so much out there. Just a Google search alone will show you thousands of ideas, thousands of options, different programs. There's a manifestation seminars, mindfulness memberships, boot camps, journal prompts, calendar apps, trackers, cleanses, just to name a few. There's so much. And it can be really tempting to fill your cart, your schedule, your phone, your playlist with all of these things promising great results. So if this promise sounds good to you, I'm going to help you to discover why what you have been doing for years to manage your stress load doesn't work, at least not for the long term. And instead, I'm going to show you or walk you through what does, so that you can skip all of the guessing and the wishing and the hoping and just do what actually works. And I know when I discovered this, when I learned this for myself, what I'm going to share with you here tonight, it actually changed my life too, profoundly, completely different. And it has changed the lives of my clients. And so I know it can also work for you. So before we dive into more here, some of the answers to those questions, let's make this meaningful. I want to really kind of see how this resonates with you. So, can you relate to any of these things? You're feeling like stress is your constant companion, and the things that didn't stress you before now stress you out and leave you overwhelmed. You've tried all the things to keep it managed, but that pervasive feeling of overwhelm, it just doesn't go away, or at least not for long. You're feeling exhausted. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping. You feel like like you're on a hamster wheel and not able to jump off. All the demands of work, family, your environment are keeping you from getting to the things that you know would actually make you feel better. And you feel like you're jumping from one solution to another. And truly, you're just longing to feel calm, clarity, and ease every day. So, can you relate to any of those scenarios? Because I certainly can. I have. And what's more, I know countless of other women I've spoken to and have worked with have felt the same. So, here's the truth that I want you to know before we even go any further. It's not your fault. And so, if you nodded your head along, yes, to any of the things that I had talked about in the slide before, it's not because I'm, a mind reader. We've never met before, some of us, or some of you. It's because, I've done all those things. And I promise you that whatever you're doing that's not working is not your fault. It's baked into our culture, it's baked into our workplaces, and we see it all over the media. It has us jumping, literally jumping from one thing to the next. And it's so hard to know which of those things is actually the best and what will be the thing that's finally going to work. And if you feel anything like I did, I would have given almost anything to make all of that go away. You know, it's all that stuff, right? There's so much stuff to navigate. And all you know is that you want to feel better. But the ways in which stress management is portrayed in our society really just has us chasing outcomes. And so we're going to change all that tonight. Because here's what I know. Even if we haven't met yet, here's what I'm willing to bet about you. You want to feel better. You want to get rid of the feeling of panic or dread in your belly. You want to not feel that constant overwhelm. And you want to live with more calm, clarity, and ease. And you want to do all of that without having to meditate for hours, go and live in a cave somewhere. You don't want to have to add more to your never ending to do list, or you don't want to have to overhaul your relationships or quit your job. All of those things. I know that that's what you're longing for because I have been in your shoes. And let me tell you more about me. So, who am I anyway? Well, I'm Kim Fulton. I have over 25 years in busy corporate roles. I am a certified yoga and Ayurveda wellness coach, and I'm the founder of the Stressless Solution. But you know what my passion is? You can read all the rest on the slide. What my passion is I support busy women over 40 who are living with persistent stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. And I help them break the cycle of stress in their lives so they can live a life of calm, clarity, ease, and joy. And the other things are important too. I don't want to minimize that. I am a wife, a mom, a daughter. I'm a yoga teacher, entrepreneur, book club member. Sometimes I go running. I love HGTV. I'm just a normal person. But I'm also someone who struggled for years with a cycle of stress in my life. What started, I can almost trace it back, right? That time when things changed, when that shift happened. What started as a kind of a chronic feeling of stress started to become this constant and acute state of panic and overwhelm. And I can't even tell you how much I longed to experience more calm, clarity, and ease every day. And I was at the point where all the things that used to work didn't work for me anymore. Like I thought I had it solved, right? I had done it. I'd overcome this stuff for years. I was managing my life. And then all of a sudden, it was like one day it stopped working. And because I had this very busy life and schedule, finding the time to do all of the things had become a real problem for me. And so, I tried all my usual techniques. I tried to solve the problem by thinking, planning, making lists, tackling to-dos, all these things so I could resolve my problem of being busy. And it got to be that anytime I was supposed to be relaxing, enjoying time with family or friends or sleeping, I was thinking and planning about what I was going to do, complete, schedule, tackle, fix, to get to the root of the problem. If I could just finish this project, create this plan, take this course, things would be better. And I was waking up every day with a to-do list a mile long and already feeling behind. That anxious, panicky feeling in my stomach was a constant companion. But in my mind, I was doing all the right things. The ways I was tackling the problem was the way I saw modeled around me at work, in the corporate setting. It was what I read about in personal development books, what I heard in podcasts. And believe me, I listened to a ton. What the wellness gurus, the influencers, the fitness apps, all of that stuff. I was doing all of those things that were being recommended. And maybe you can relate to this because I was sure, I was sure the problem was me. Everybody else seemed to be getting it right. And, if I could just make it through this phase, things would be better. They had to be. But the problem was that at the end of that one thing, it was always another. And I was suffering. I just couldn't go on the way I was. I knew in my heart that there had to be a better way. And I was either going to find it, figure it out, or I was going to lose my job, damage my relationships, have a health crisis of some sort. Like things had to change. So again, in short, like I'm just like you, but I made it to the other side. And let me tell you more about that. So my defining moment, and I love this picture because the picture I'm showing you here is almost exactly when this decision that I made happened. And looking at that picture now and thinking back, when I see that picture, I see the joy, the relief, the determination, and the empowerment I felt standing right there on that spot. But I also remember it was a time when I had been feeling at an absolute low. I was at the depths of despair in my job, and I felt like everything was collapsing around me. But what you see in this picture is someone who took a break when it absolutely did not make sense to. It was probably the worst time ever at work. And you'll see in this picture somebody who experienced power of the pause. And you'll see in this picture someone who emerged absolutely determined to find a different way. Because in this picture, in this moment, I had this rush of clarity, which brought with it great calm and ease. But it also gave me the clarity to understand that the things I had been doing up till that point were just wrong. Were just wrong. So I'm grateful for the moment because that was where I made, the investment in me, without which I'd probably still be doing the same old things and not getting further ahead, except for getting more burnt out. And on that journey, even though I have a greater calm and ease in my life, it took me time to figure it out. In fact, that last image of me was on Peely Island in 2018. And, on this journey, I had to kind of unlearn everything that I thought was right to do because it had become so obvious to me that those things weren't serving me anymore. And this journey took me off the beaten path, the one I had been cultivating for years. And at one point, had actually given me so much. But I quickly discovered how they were no longer serving, how wrong they were going to be continuing on that path in my life. But I had to test out a lot of different formulas to see what felt true, what worked, and which felt authentic to me. And there were definitely points, I won't kid you, where I struggled. Because on this journey, I had to shift my focus from all the trendy, businessy, corporate, personal development-y things that I was used to. And I shifted into this world of yoga and Ayurveda. And I won't go into depth about exactly what those are, but I will say that that was kind of where the journey took me because I felt this connection, this time-tested authenticity with its focus on health and well-being, and with with it as an extension of nature. It just felt true. It made sense to me as a truth. And so that's where I invested my time and energy and resources into teachers and teachings so I could get closer to the answers I was seeking, which was how to live a life of more joy and ease. And there were lots of times when I wish somebody would have just taken me inside and said, look, just do this. But it wasn't that easy. It took a lot of time and patience. And there was no way, though, that I could have discovered what I learned without investing the time. And I think, it's this combination of personal experience, the things that led me up to that point, and my intensive study and education that's really made me an expert in this field of stress, and in particular, how to break the stress cycle. And I was really fully committed at that point. Sometimes I hear this thing called like a no plan B option, but to me, the path from here was only forward. There was no plan B. just flip the slide here before I get too carried away in my talking. Because what I want to share was kind of this discovery through all the trial and error and through all of that journey. I learned that actually all of the things that I was feeling and thinking that I was alone, I wasn't. And that there's actually nothing wrong with me. It wasn't that I didn't have what it takes. It wasn't that I wasn't strong enough. It was just that all of the things that weren't working for me anymore, that had been working, it's because I was trying to solve a problem on the level of the problem. And, I say that a lot, solving a problem at the level of the problem. And it won't be the first time you hear about it tonight, but let me explain it a little bit. I was caught up in a cycle of doing more or thinking that I needed to do more to solve a problem. And instead of helping, like alleviating the stress, it was actually creating overload and overwhelm in my mind and senses, which then, trickles down. It impacts my physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And I hear this sometimes called now nervous system dysregulation. But the concept that I share with you now and teach my students is that instead of solving a problem at the level of the problem, we have to kind of look at it from a different perspective. And in particular, you really need to know where and how the stress is accumulating for you. You need to know how to release and unwind it. And then you need to know how to build or rebuild on a strong foundation. Okay, this isn't a plan B approach. This is a path forward. And anything short of that really just has you back in the whole old habits, old patterns, and old problems. This is not another stress management approach or technique. This is a wholesale stress transformation. And trust me, there is a simpler way to break the cycle of stress in your life than what it is that you're doing now. And you don't even have to find more hours in your day to do it. And if all of that sounds good for you, good to you, then you are in the right place. Because quite frankly, this is what makes what I do unique. You can find lots of people talking about stress management, but nobody else is talking about stress transformation. So we're going to jump into the strategies. I've given you a preview of them, but I'll jump into them. But before I do, I love to give examples so that you can kind of see how what success looks like or how the stories might relate, so that you can find perhaps some things that sound common to what your experience is. Because the other thing that I love to share is that nobody's stress experience is exactly the same. No two stress stacks, no two stress loads are exactly the same. In fact, I think they're as unique as your fingerprints. And so as I share more stories and you start to kind of hear what the path looked like for others, in particular, what was the situation that they came into the transformation with, and how it impacted them. So let's walk through some of that. I want to tell you about B. So B had only been working with me for a few sessions, and she had this major breakthrough. By looking at her daily routine, we were able to find a few key places where she could stop the game. And in place of busy, she could implement just a few simple things. In fact, it started with one simple thing that would be a game changer. And incredibly, within the same week, she reported back to me that it had felt like a weight had been literally lifted off her shoulders. She was able to see very, very clearly, this is the clarity that I talk about, what changes needed to be made in her work world. And not only did she have that clarity, but she had the confidence to move and act on them. Because, just like the stress cycle snowballs, calm clarity needs also snowball. Once you get the ball rolling, you get great momentum. So as I tell the story about B, maybe pulled out some of the feelings or the emotions that I was sharing there. But honestly, B was quite literally not sleeping. She was eating a family-sized bag of chips every night and had acute pain radiating down her arm from her shoulder that made her work, which was mostly computer work all day, absolutely excruciating. And she told me shortly after, right after a few sessions, that it had felt like a weight was literally lifted off her shoulders. Transformational change. Now imagine yourself, right? Where you feel the heaviness of the daily constant stress lifted off your shoulders. What would that feel like for you? Without the weight or the panic or the overwhelm or the dread, will you feel lighter, get better sleep, feel stronger, more confident? Can you imagine what it would take or what it would feel like to replace busy with ease? And with that, let's talk about these core concepts I wanted to share with you tonight. The core concept number one. Now let's break down the real reason all the stress management techniques are leaving you more stressed. Let me share some examples with you here. Let me know if you've tried any of these. You're using an app to track your sleep, your steps, your food, your heart rate, everything and anything. You're working on your habits, your time blocking, or using other productivity or personal development regimes. You're using kickboxing classes, boot camps, personal trainers, crashing on the couch, getting away from it all, vacations, wine, recreational drugs, sleeping in, all of these things that we do, all these stress management techniques. You know, these are very popular stress management tactics, and you can find them all over the internet and social media. And I want you to know something. Like, did you know that the stress management industry is $1 billion strong? Did you know that the average person in North America is investing thousands of dollars each year on these tactics and more? But the truth is they don't work, at least not for anyone who's experiencing prolonged or acute stress. Because here's the problem with these techniques. I want to help you understand kind of at the core why they aren't working or why they aren't helping you to alleviate the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. You see, when you use an app or tracker, right, it's giving you data. It's giving you data, but it's not giving you strategies. And you don't always kind of know then when you try one tactic or one thing based on that data after another, you don't really get that insight into why it works or why it doesn't work. And then when it comes to all the personal development regimes, those are often very one size fits all. You read the book, you follow the method, you're supposed to be good. And you're often following a herd, right? All the others who are doing it, the influencers, they're not specific to you. This is somebody else's methodology. They've written a book and you're off to go figure it out and maybe kind of seeing what other people are doing around you. There's this book, and I won't name it right now, but it was incredibly popular while I was still in corporate. And, you almost couldn't admit that you hadn't read it or weren't following it. You needed to know the buzzwords, right? This is kind of that herd mentality, but I never really resonated with it. I tried, or, I thought, well, I'll dig into it and do a thing here, a thing there, but it wasn't solving the problem because it wasn't personalized. It wasn't about me. And then all the boot camps and the kickboxing classes and the personal trainers. I mean, these are really very, very popular. But it's also a very forceful, harsh, or extreme form of exercise. And they increase adrenaline, they increase cortisol, they can push your adrenals out of whack. You can experience adrenal fatigue. It's not, or it's the opposite rather, of calm, clarity, and ease. And quite frankly, often these things are adding something to your already very busy day. And then, of course, we look at things like, getting on or thinking on the couch or crashing on the couch, Netflix, getting away from it all. And, these preoccupy us, they entertain us. But often the stress and the overwhelm are just waiting for you on the other side. And I'm sure everyone can relate to that. And then, of course, it's to talk about wine, recreational drugs, sleeping in. Those are really like putting a blanket on the problem. It can feel better in the moment, but we all know that, you know, it's still waiting for you there. And it's quite frankly, those are not practical or healthy long-term strategies. So these are all the things that are very popular on the go, and we've all tried from time to time. And here's why they aren't working. I've said this phrase before, but it's because they're trying to solve a problem at the level of the problem. They're not working because they're not addressing the root cause, which is overwork, fatigue, and burnout. They're just giving you more to do, which contributes to your overwork, fatigue, and burnout. So instead of helping you, it's a strategy that creates more overload. It overloads the mind, the senses. It can impact your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. They can perpetuate overwork, burnout, and nervous system or adrenal fatigue. And I'm not saying that any one of those techniques are not okay, like in themselves are bad. Many of them are quite viable, and they're good kind of things to get you over the edge or through a particular stressful time, but they don't actually get to root cause. So what happens is that they stop working, and then you're back to where you started, or even, a little bit worse, because it's a cycle of stress that has you increasing your stress load. And this is what I refer to as stress stacking. So you are adding one stress upon the other, increasing your stress load, which is increasing the overwork, overwhelm, and anxiety that you're feeling. So this is all about, not solving a problem at the level of the problem. And to illustrate that, I want to talk to you or tell you a story about Elle. So Elle, my client, she would use her morning boot camp to manage her stress. And she told me for years, we worked together for a long time. She told me for years that this is what kept her calm and kept her sane. And then, it was interesting because as she's telling me this, she's frantic, right? She's working on a last minute deadline for a project. She's managing or working with an uncooperative colleague. Her husband's called and has a last minute schedule change, which means she has to pick up the kids. But, thank God I got my workout in this morning, Kim, is what she'd say. And what she didn't really realize was that she was actually punishing her body, exhausting her adrenals, and burning out her nervous system with her morning boot camp. And it might have given her the rush and the I'm going to kick butt kind of feeling at the end of it. But in reality, it was only contributing to her overwork, overwhelm, and burnout. And this is a really sticky one because people are very protective about their workout. Absolutely. It took me a while to kind of get through to her here. But I could share, when she wasn't able to fit it in, when she was feeling too tired or she had some other scheduling problem, she could relate to the resentment or the sense of failure that she would feel for missing it. But it took a lot of heavy lifting for me to move her kind of past that point or to show her how her workout was contributing to her stress load. Because when she was doing it, she was feeling great. And the gym is full. And there are so many other people that are doing what she's doing. How could they all be wrong? It's so popular. It's so popular. And like I said, the problem isn't necessarily with the workout. We all need to work out. We need to move our bodies. That is incredibly important for a healthy lifestyle. So the problems with the workout is how it's contributing to our stress load. And because it's like a snowball effect, right? In a life of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, it compounds the problem. But this gave her insight into the root cause. And then we could come up with a plan that not only helped her move through it. No plan B helped her move through it, but also kept her moving so that she could really support her necessary healing. Okay. So that's the story of Elle. We're going to keep moving on here. I want to tell you about our second core concept tonight, which is what it actually takes to stop the stress cycle. So we all, so many people have these fixed ideas about what it's going to take for things to change. And this can be a mix of external circumstances and our own ideas or habits. Things like, I'm too busy. Uh, my job is too crazy right now. Let me advance the slide so you can see too. My intense workout's the only thing that keeps me sane. I can't quiet my mind. My family needs my time or attention. I can't afford it right now, which is really, just kind of a resource constraint, time, money, or energy. So when we think about, I'm too busy, well, yes, if your stress management techniques are adding to your schedule, you're always going to feel like you're too busy. In fact, you'll find yourself giving up on these things as soon as your schedule fills up, which is like always. So the fix is to find more calm and ease in your regular daily routines, not doing more and more and more. And, the crazy job, well, yeah, maybe, right? And you feel like you can, if you just get through this project, well, I'm sure you've experienced that as soon as one thing wraps up, there's a new project right around the corner, a new deadline, a new urgent problem. Waiting for the right time just makes the problem bigger. It's like a snowball rolling down the hill. But please know that simple changes can actually have a really profound impact. And then we talked a little bit in the story of Elle, the intense workout and the problematic part of that. Um, I often hear, don't touch my workout, Kim. But it's like we talked about in the example, that jolt of adrenaline or cortisol can leave you overworked, exhausted over the long term, especially if your state of stress is acute and pervasive. And then, we all sometimes think we need that thing to quiet our minds, and they do give us something to focus on, but it's kind of more like a band-aid solution, right? Because whatever is causing you stress is usually just waiting for you at the end of the series when there's no more of that series to watch, when you binge watch the whole yourself all the way through. Things like my family needs my time and attention. Of course they do. Of course they do. And what I found as well, and what my direct experience is, if I wait for everybody else around me to be ready for me to change, the time is never going to be right. And, waiting for the world to be ready or my family to be ready for me to make a change will only increase my feelings of overwhelm and frustration. Focusing on self-care, we say this all the time, needs to be a top priority, right? But it can absolutely be the case. And then in terms of, I can't afford it, and this relates to resources, time, money, and energy. As I shared earlier, the average person in North America is easily spending $1,000 to $3,000 annually on stress management tactics. And if you're listening to this masterclass, you're already relating to as a busy and overwhelmed person. So you're probably already spending it anyway. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about the time and I'm talking about your energy. We're already using it. So the truth is here, you're already spending what it is you think you can't afford. And the key here is not to add or consume more of what you don't have. It's to rebuild and reset. So I refer to these as limiting beliefs because you can stop the stress cycle. You don't have to wait. But what gets in the way of making the change is limiting beliefs, just like I've just described. And quite honestly, these are just stories that have developed in our mind, in our habits, in our lifestyle over time. And they are frequently upheld in society, our society that rewards our culture of busy. But a belief or a habit is not necessarily the truth. So please know there is another way. And I want to tell you about another Elle that I know. Now, Elle has been a client for 4 or 5 years, and she is, the model of the stress and busy woman over 40. And, I say that she's been a client for 4 or 5 years, but what happens, kind of hard to measure, because what happens is she comes to me in these short bursts and then she disappears. And it looks something like this. She reaches out because she's got a particular problem and wants to come to a yoga class again. She needs to stretch and move, improve her flexibility, relax, breathe, etc. These are just the things that she's told me. And so she comes to a class and she tells me it helps. And then as we chat more. I found out she'd taken a new role. She's busy planning her daughter's return to school, organizing a big holiday party for her husband's family, overwhelmed by the changes in her workplace, can't sleep at night, has a persistent and acute pain in her hip, has gained weight that she's been trying to lose, etc. Again, all of the things that she shared with me over the course of our relationship. But you know what happens? Then she starts to miss classes because she's too busy or because she hurt herself. And slowly she stops coming altogether. She tells me she wants to take a break. She's trying something new, like a personal trainer or an osteopath. Again, all just, all examples of what she's telling me. But can you hear it? Can you hear all the reasons, all the preconceived notions, all the limiting beliefs, right? And it breaks my heart. The reason all the things that she's doing isn't working is because of her lifestyle. And she's caught up in it. And it's perpetuating her stress cycle. So maybe you know somebody like this. Maybe you are somebody like this. So let's come to core concept number 3, which I'm going to share and relate as a moment that things changed for me. The moment, in fact. Because the reason that you showed up here is because you want the constant stress to stop, to just stop. You want to feel better. And you want the constant hamster wheel to stop for a minute so you can get things back on track. And the thought of keeping up that hamster wheel or keeping up to it, running at it, is making you feel panicky and anxious and overwhelmed. You are longing to experience calm, clarity, and ease every day. And I get it. And here's what I discovered, what works. You see, as I worked to incorporate yoga and Ayurveda into my life, I made this discovery that it was my lifestyle that was perpetuating my cycle of stress in my life. I had developed a habit of busy, and that was the root cause of my feelings of panic and overwhelm and the resulting nervous system adrenal fatigue or nervous system dysregulation. Because I did all the things too. Let me move that slide so you can see what I'm talking about. I took the courses, I joined the gym, I sweated it out at hot yoga, I bought the running gear, I started running, I did my MBA, I lost weight, I gained weight, I joined committees at work, I took the promotion, I took a leave of absence, I accepted changes in direction, I modeled resilience, I led big teams, I helped my parents when my dad got sick, I worked full time, I was a wife and mom. All of these things we're supposed to do. And yet I reached a point where instead of being motivated, inspired, engaged, and energetic, I was exhausted and frustrated and frazzled. I was stressed. And that almost feels like I'm minimizing it. The feelings, physically, mentally, emotionally, were actually almost perpetual panic and overwhelm. So I like this slide because one of my favorite analogies to kind of illustrate this, to kind of hit it home, no pun intended, is that I felt like I was like a ball boy in the tennis game. You know, that person that stands on the sidelines waiting to catch the ball and throw a new ball back in play. I was in this constant state of trying to anticipate where the ball was going to go, and always kind of being in this ready state of keeping that good ball in play. But it's a game that never ends. Tennis is long enough, but honest to God, this game was never ending. And it's not only one ball in play, it's all the balls at once. And like I said, if you Google stress management, you're going to get a gazillion hits. There are no shortage of options. And I feel like must have tried them all. But the truth is, each one of them is just like another ball being thrown into the game. And to get rid of the persistent state of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, you can't throw more balls in the game. You've got to get to root cause, which is that you've got too many balls in the never-ending game. In short, to solve the problem of overwork and burnout, you've got to get to root cause, which is overwork and burnout. And so my discovery was that it wasn't that I needed to keep all the balls in the game. I actually needed the game to stop. Just to stop. And what does that look like? Well, you might ask, what do you do with a full life, a job, work, family? How do you just stop the game? Well, it's not by checking out or going to meditate in a cave or taking a big vacation, not even wine Wednesdays, because quite honestly, the game is still in play. You're just, you've just stepped out and then you have to play catch up. What you do is that you have a plan. You need a plan or a method, a step-by-step way that not only addresses root cause and a root cause that is specific to you, not a one-size-fits-all plan, but a plan to help you heal the stress, anxiety, and panic that is now living in your body, your mind, and your emotions. You need to clear the court and start a fresh and orderly game so that you can stop doing all the things that don't work and just focus on the ones that do. This is your reset. So to reset the game, I discovered that in order to get rid of all of that anxiety, stress, anxiety, burnout, there were really just 5 things. Just 5 things. 1, to know how to put the game on pause in the easiest, least obvious, and most convenient way possible. The world doesn't need to know you're doing it. Only you need to know that you're doing it. 2, to know where specifically in my lifestyle were the areas that were most problematic or where I'm most prone to stress. Because like I said, our stress stack is as unique as our fingerprints. You need to know where exactly in our own lifestyle we've got the issues, where we are most prone to stress uniquely. You need to have simple things to do that would help you, but to not disrupt your whole family while doing it. And I really felt that the solution needed to give me the time and space to heal and release the feelings I was feeling. And that didn't result in me crying at work or yelling at my kids. And then I needed access to mentorship, support, and community. Once I had felt all alone in what I was experiencing, this is what made the difference. It helped keep me moving forward, right? That no plan B approach, the path is forward. And it helped me right set when I started to fall back into my own habits and old routines. You see, my mission is to create a stress-less movement. This is not one where we each go off on our own and try to figure it out. This is one in which we are transforming stress together. This is a stress-less movement. And the 5th critical element to resetting the games, you've got to make it sustainable. In other words, it needs to be a wholesale life change, but it needs to be something you can do for the rest of your life. It has to be something practical. It has to be something manageable, or else it's just too hard. But this is why I do what I do. This is my passion, and it's why I created my Stress Less Solution program. Because I really want to help people identify their own unique root cause. No one-size-fits-all solution here. I think it's important that you highlight the place in your daily life where you're most prone to stress through simple assessments and individualized recommendations. You've got to have helpful tools then to help release the impact of the chronic stress and the residue of it in your body, mind, and emotions. And then you've got to have a very practical, simple, and effective practices to rebuild and restart the game. And that's the key to sustainable results and true lifestyle change. And then also the courage and confidence to make lasting change. You need to be inspired and cheered on, supported by others. You are not alone. And I say that all the time. You are not alone in this journey. We have to reset the game. And I'll share another story, the story of Kay. And I might as well let you know Kay is me. Because look, I think we all know that stress is part of life. And I don't want to tell you that you'll never experience stress again. That's unrealistic and quite honestly a lie. Stress is just it's a natural state of imbalance. The thing is that most of the time when we are in an ideal state, that stress at imbalance, we can fairly quickly right set and it doesn't accumulate. I'm not talking about this day-to-day, like little stresses, one stress here, one stress there. I'm talking about the massive stress stack that we accumulate over time. But I can share with you as well that I have the practices and tools and resources in place now to help me manage stress as it arrives in my life. I can spot the lure of the stress cycle at 100 paces, and I can pivot in a way that I don't step back into the game, at least not the way I used to. And with these practices in place, I'm able to quickly reset if I happen to find myself there. And what I find is 10 out of 10 times, honestly, tried and true, if I'm starting to feel the stress, anxiety, or overwhelm creep in, it's because something's out of whack with my daily practices. I've missed something or gotten too busy somewhere. But then, I do a little reset, a reset. I can spot it, and then I just pivot back quickly. So it's not that stress never happens to me. It happens even to me. And it's about the ease and the grace with which you reset and move forward. This is the stress transformation. So do you remember a time when all the things that now cause you stress were actually easy or easier? Do you remember a time when you actually felt refreshed after a weekend? Do you remember a time when you felt like you could take on the world? Maybe you remember a time when feeling calm, clarity, ease, and joy was normal for you. To get back to that state, a stress management technique is not going to cut it. A wholesale stress transformation is required. Okay. So let's do a little bit of a recap here. We'll review those core concepts that we just went over and what we have learned in our time together today. The core concept 1, this is where we talked about the real reason popular stress management techniques don't work. We talked about how apps and trackers give you data versus strategies, what the heck you do with all that information. We talked about how podcasts and books offer one-size-fits-all approaches instead of individualized or specific approaches. We talked about gym memberships and boot camps, and they just give you even more to do, and how things like vacations, Netflix, wine Wednesdays, and recreational drugs are more like escape strategies rather than stress management strategies. All of these things try to solve the problem at the level of the problem instead of the underlying lifestyle and habits or the actual root cause. In core concept 2, we talked about all the things that we tell ourselves as we deal with or take action around stress management. These were the limiting beliefs, things that included being too busy, or not now is not the right time, which is also like future dating and action. Thinking that you need to be aggressive about it. Remember the other L in her boot camp? Or thinking that you can't quiet the mind enough to take the action or whatever you think the right action is. And we talked about these as limiting beliefs that without even knowing it are holding us back from taking action or the most appropriate action. If you don't know that you can stop the stress cycle by leveraging daily activities, the things that you're doing anyway, if you don't understand how making simple changes in those places can have a profound effect, or that choosing strategy instead of band-aids creates lasting change versus short-term jolts, then you are spending your finite resources, time, money, and energy on things that aren't effective. And finally, you don't need anybody else to do anything different. And then core concept number 3, this was the moment that changed for me. And I found it super powerful because I walked you through the exact method that I used and use to support myself and my clients to help them break the cycle of stress so they can stop throwing more balls in the already busy game. And this is where I talked about all the ways we've tried to change the game that have left us feeling frustrated and frazzled. And these are the things that have left us feeling perpetually overwhelmed and that have led to chronic nervous system and stress and adrenal fatigue. And this is where I shared the steps and methods that I use to reset the game in my life. And I think that's why you showed up today. Through these 3 concepts or little known strategies, you can break free of the stress cycle. And I know you want to have greater calm, clarity, and ease in your life without needing to overhaul it or add more hours to your day. I know you want a simpler way to get there. And I know you want to stop feeling the constant stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in your life and that perpetual panic to just go away so that you can feel energized, enthusiastic, motivated, and inspired again. This is calm, clarity, ease, and joy that I love to talk about it. I love to talk about. So what's next? What ahas are you having? What has this uncovered for you? Are you ready to break the cycle of stress in your life? How would your life be different if you did? Are you ready to take the next step? At the beginning of this training, I made that big promise to you. By the end of the session, that I would have explained why all the popular stress management techniques are impacting your stress load, how you actually stop the cycle of stress in your life, and the foundations of stress-less living so that you can feel more calm, clarity, and ease every day. Now, here's the thing that I want you to remember. Everything that I've shared with you isn't a random theory or some idea that I think might work for you. Everything that I've walked you through worked for me. And I started from a very similar spot that you are right now. And I am not busy or special. I was busy. I'm not special. I had a busy life. The stress, the struggles, and the trial and error and the missteps, which I talked you through. I shared all of that with you, which is why I'm such an expert and leader in this field. And I am really good at teaching this method and leading transformation because of the work I've done and continue to do on myself. And it's my hope that I delivered on this big promise to you today and that you got some really good insight into why and how the stress cycle is impacting you and why the ways that you may have typically addressed or managed the stress so far hasn't worked or has stopped working. And if I delivered that, I am so glad. But I also want you to take your next step. And I want you to know it doesn't have to be one that you take by yourself. Because we are coming to the end of our time together, and I don't want you to think that things just have to end. So if you're interested in having support, direction, accountability from someone who's been in your shoes, who has researched, studied, applied the learnings, and gone through all the trial and error and come out the other side, well, my friend, I can help you with that. And I'd love to tell you more about it. So if it's okay with you, can I share those details with you now? All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So without further ado, then, I want to talk to you about the Stressless Solution Program, my signature program. Now, all the details are here on the slide. And rather than read it to you, and I know that, the minute I put it up, you're reading along with it. But I want you instead to go on a journey with me. Consider from 12 weeks from now. So 12 weeks from now is roughly the beginning of May. Summer is just around the corner, and you are eagerly awaiting the warm weather. Now, recalling last summer, oops, hold on. There we go. Recalling last summer, the one where you were trying frantically to tie things up before you took that little vacation, the vacation you never thought you were going to be able to take, the one that you never actually fully relaxed in because you were worried about what you were going to walk in that first day back to work. And the vacation you kept putting off because the timing could not be worse. But now, this year, you're clear and confident in your foundation. You're not frazzled or in react mode because of every new issue or deadline. And this time on vacation, you really get into the vibe of it. You are so present with your partner, your kids, your friends, or whomever you're vacationing with. And for the first time in a long while, you're actually having fun. Instead of feeling behind the game because you took time off, you actually feel refreshed and inspired, calm, at ease. And not just after your vacation, but every day. Can you imagine that feeling on your vacation? Can you imagine that feeling on Monday mornings? Can you imagine that feeling every morning? Can you feel it? If you can feel it, it's you. you've transformed your relationship with stress. This can be you. And so I want to share here the details of the Stress Less Solution program. Like I said, you're probably reading what it includes, right? The 12-week program, all the things that you'll find within the program, amazing content. I've walked you through all the steps that are included in this program, from diagnosing your own stress load, where and how stress is accumulating in your life, where you are most prone to accumulation. The program walks you through how to release and heal from the impact of that stress, body, mind, energy, emotions. The program will also help you then rebuild strong foundations. This is resetting the game based on lifestyle factors that have the most profound impact without requiring the whole world to change around you, even though it probably will. And it includes a very step-by-step method to integrate back into life, and a repeatable process. This is yours to do again and again and again and again. Like I said, when I refer to my own journey, I come back to the steps again and again and again. And I'm feeling that, getting a sense of that feeling of panic, a little bit of overwhelm emerging. I just go back and look at those steps. I'm like, oh, yeah, there we go. This is what happened. This is what I stopped doing. This is where I made a change. And my ability to pivot back is quick. And yours will be too, because you'll have the tools to do that. So that's all contained within the program. But I want to really draw your attention to a very special invitation just for the remainder of February. At the end of this month, this offer will go away, will change. But for the remainder of February only, I'm going to continue to honor my 2024 pricing of the program, which is for the full 12 weeks plus the ongoing materials and access to the library. That price, all in, is $1,997. And as special bonuses, I'm going to include 2 times the one-on-one calls with me. And I'm going to include access to my online wellness library, which is an emerging site repository that I'm building with all sorts of wellness tips and tricks. There's yoga videos in there. There will be meditations, webinars just like this, skills clinics. And that is something I've just recently built, so it will continue to evolve and grow. And it is yours when you opt into the program this month. And so this is my invitation to you to join the Stress Less Revolution. I talked about creating a stress less movement. And when we do that together, we are building truly a revolution. So your first step, if this is all sounding good to you, awesome. Your first step is to book a call. Book a call with me. And I'm going to pop that link to the call in the chat below. But if you're watching the recording, you're going to find the details to book a call right in the email that include the recording. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, it's going to be included in the show notes. So book a call with me. And not just if you're ready to take that next step, even if you're not. I really think it's worth having a conversation about. I'd love to know what you learned tonight, where you see yourself on this journey of stress transformation. What of the 3 core concepts resonated most deeply for you? Where are you in your stress cycle? Let's chat. So we'll talk about, the questions, the wonderings, help with next steps. There'll be lots of support. Even if, regardless of the outcome of the call, and there's no obligation in booking the call, but you're going to walk away with a personalized approach and some specific and actionable strategies, and a little bit of accountability, which goes a long way. So book a call with me, and let's talk about how stress is impacting you. And let's talk about what it would mean for you to finally transform your relationship with stress And then we can talk about how you might participate in this special program offer, just seeing if it's the right fit for you. And like I said, the link to book a call will be included in the email, will be included in the chat, and isn't included in the chat rather, and will be included in the show notes if you're following me on LinkedIn. So go ahead. Why not book a call? And so for now, I'll wrap things up by wishing you a wonderful rest of your evening and week ahead. And until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye for now.